Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to Testa and Neal Keep It Real right here on WWSU 106.9 FM and our YouTube channel, WWSU 1069. Apologies for missing the show yesterday. I spent a little bit too much time in Cincinnati, and Parker had to be up early for work, so our schedules kind of meshed there, and we didn't get a chance to really get together and talk about the show. So I'm off to a strong start today, in case you were curious. My phone just flat out died on me, and now I got to get a new phone this afternoon. So, Parker, I'm blowing through the paycheck this week. I've spent a lot more money than I wanted to.
Well, that's life. You get a curveball, and sometimes you swing at a dirt ball. So,
Uh,
I think the phone was a dirt ball that you swung right over the top of.
it's a slider that hit my back foot, but it's a strike because I swung. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
we got a lot to get into. NBA, we got to catch up. Damian Lillard had maybe the greatest game in the history of the NBA playoffs, and I don't think that's an understatement. I mean, he was spectacular. And still found somehow they still lost. I don't know how Portland played. I don't know how Portland could not bail him out to the point where he played that well and they couldn't win. And then last night, that Clippers Mavericks game, I regret staying up till 1 a.m. to watch that, but I don't regret staying up till 1 a.m. to watch that because that was a great game of basketball. And Luka Doncic continues to cement himself as an absolute stud and probably top 5 player in the NBA, even though he's only 22 years old.
Yeah. He's just really damn good. There's no other way to put it. He carried the Mavericks through that game. Porzingis was off. And I know we both talked about how important that both of those guys need to play well. But Luka proved us wrong.
Yeah, no doubt about it. New York season comes to an end last night. Boston season came to an end. A lot to talk about with the Celtics today. I am shocked about some of the changes they made. I knew that there was a possibility that Danny Ainge stepped down. I did not think they'd replace him with the guy that they're replacing him with. So that kind of blew my mind, and I'm excited to talk about the future of the Boston Celtics. But let's get right into it. We also later on in the show are going to be talking about the clutchest athlete in sports history. Damian Lillard's performance on Tuesday got me thinking. Who are some of the clutchest performers in the history of sports? Obviously, Michael Jordan, obviously, Kobe Bryant, obviously, Tom Brady. But some that you don't think about, like how about I know you're not a big hockey guy, neither am I, but how about Carey Price with the Montreal Canadiens? I mean, Montreal has no business beating some of the teams they've beaten in the playoffs over the last couple of years, but that goalie turns into a freaking rock in the postseason. So there's just a lot of guys that step up when the lights shine the brightest, and I think we're starting to see the dawn of another clutch star in Luka Doncic, because it seems like every time Dallas needs a play, Luka's made that play throughout the first 2 playoffs of his young career. And I know he only had like 5 points in the fourth quarter last night, but every single point that the Mavericks scored came off of a Luka assist or a Luka rebound or an extra pass or whatever. And I think I read somewhere that in the first half, Luka Doncic contributed like to 48 of their 56 points. It's stupid how like you said, he carries that team, and he's only like 6 months older than me.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic to see. As good as the Clippers played in Game 3 and Game 4, and they put up a heck of a fight in Game 5. They really did, but Luka was just too much to stop for him, and they pull out the win.
They sure do. And we got a lot to get into. Like I said, the Dodgers beat up on the Cardinals. I'm excited to get into that. Thank you. Thank you, Cody Bellinger. Welcome back. What a stud. And I'll also probably get into a rant at some point in hour number 2. I had a day off. I got off earlier than I usually do on Tuesday afternoon. Decided to go to the Reds game and say, hey, let's have some fun. Well, the Reds decided they did not want to have any kind of fun that night. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But let's start off with the NBA. It's the hot topic. Let's catch up what we missed on Tuesday. That's the Brooklyn Nets closing out the series against the Boston Celtics, 123 to 109. A great performance by Brooklyn throughout the course of the series. The gentleman's sweep, if you will. 32 points by Jason Tatum. But story of the series, really, other than Tatum, just nothing really helping him out there. No Kemba Walker, no Robert Williams. Marcus Smart really struggled from the field. It was just a tough day for the Celtics. Kevin Durant had 24, James Harden had 34, Kyrie Irving 25. This Nets team is really, really good, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but I am really, really excited to see Bucks and Nets in the second round. This is going to be a really fun series.
Yeah, it's a series that we thought we would definitely get the chance to see, and we're going to see it, and it's going to be a blast. You know, as good as Giannis has been, and as good as the Milwaukee Bucks have been, they dominated the Miami Heat in the first round. They're going up against a Nets team who a lot of people consider the best in basketball this year, and probably the best team we've seen since the 2017 Golden State Warriors. So, they're going to be this is going to be a fantastic series. You know, Durant's played well. Kyrie Irving's played well as Harden. They got like six guys who should have max contracts on that team right now. So this is going to be a lot of fun to watch, you know. And this is I'm really excited to see what Steve Nash does with his guys. And I'm excited to see how the Milwaukee Bucks decide to defend this star-studded Brooklyn team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be fun. I mean, Boston, they lost in 5, but without Jaylen Brown, without Kemba Walker for 3 games in that series, I'm impressed with the fight they put up. I thought they'd get run out of the gym, but in 4 of those 5 games, I mean, they had a shot.
Yeah, they did. And that's all a credit to Jason Tatum. I mean, he carried Brooklyn through this entire series. I mean, we single-handedly carried Brooklyn through this entire series. You know, there are guys here and there who had great games, like Evan Fournier, Marcus Smart, and Jabari Parker had great games sprinkled in this series. But the guy was Jason Tatum, and he proved that he's one of the best in the NBA right now. And and I think Brad Stevens used him to his full potential. He put up at least 30 points, I think, every night in this series. So he's one of the guys who really played well for Brad Stevens. One of the few guys who's played well for Brad Stevens in these playoffs, and he single-handedly won them that one game they won in this series. But Brooklyn was just too much for him.
Yeah, they sure were. And I have a feeling Brooklyn's going to be too much for a lot of teams in this playoff.
Right.
But just we didn't think Brooklyn had the depth to succeed. We thought it was, just the starting 5 of Griffin, Harden, Harris, Durant, and Irving. But I mean, they've had guys make contributions off the bench: Landry Shamet, Nicholas Claxton, TLC, Timothy. How do you say it? Luwawu Cabaret or whatever it is. I just call him TLC for good reason. But I mean, they have the depth. They didn't even play DeAndre Jordan, so they have depth, and they're an even more dangerous team than we thought they were. We knew they'd be good when they got Durant, when they got Kyrie, and when they traded for Harden, but they actually have a decent bench, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, you know, as good as a starting 5 that this team has, you think, oh, they're just going to beat everybody, no matter if their bench is good or not. But that's not true. They've proven that their bench can be somewhat of a weakness at times. But in these playoffs, there's been guys who've stepped up, guys like you said, Claxton, and as well as Bruce Brown Jr. and TLC. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I'll just embarrass myself. But you know, there's guys that are on this team that are playing very, very well, and they proved it here in this series. You know, in the last game, yeah, where Brooklyn closed out the series. You know, Irving had 25, Durant had 24, Harden had 34. So those 3 guys alone should win you a majority of your games. But there's been times this year where they haven't had all 3 of those guys at the same time. So they've had to find other ways to win, and their bench has really stepped up, and they've got them wins when they sure needed it.
Yeah, they sure have. So Brooklyn moves on to the second round. Like we said, they take on the Milwaukee Bucks. Game 1's coming up on, I believe they said Sunday. But right off the top of my head, and obviously this could go, I mean, I'm not an NBA analyst for good reason. This could go the complete opposite of what I'm thinking. But if I had to make a prediction right now, both teams are playing great, but I just think the Nets have more depth and the Nets are more consistent. So I'd pick right now, if I had to, Nets in 6, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you. This is a series that I think is going to be it's going to be very close. It's going to be like this Clippers Mavs series right now. I think Giannis and company are going to put up more of a fight than a lot of people think. This Bucks team is not a pushover team. They're really good, and they proved it. They swept the Miami Heat. Um, So I think this is going to be close. I think Nets in 6 as well. With the talent that Brooklyn has, it's just going to be too much to overcome, and Giannis can't do it all on his own. And I think there's going to be the bench play is going to be a huge factor in this series. And I think as talented as Milwaukee of a team is, they're not going to be able to overcome the big three of this Brooklyn team.
No, I agree. I think really I want to say it's definitely the best shot that Milwaukee has, but I really think it's the only shot that Milwaukee has. If they want to win this series, Giannis has to slow down Kevin Durant, which is already a tough enough task as it is. And Drew Holiday has to be able to slow down one of either Irving or Harden. You need two of the three Nets stars to not be on top of their game, because if all three of them are on the top of their game, this team's not losing to anyone. So if Giannis can make KD's life a little harder and Drew Holiday can make either Harden or Kyrie's life a little harder, Milwaukee's got a shot. But if that doesn't happen, I just don't see a way that the Milwaukee Bucks can beat the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, you got to eliminate one of these three guys, and that's really tough to do because if you eliminate one of the three guys and just kind of disregard, well, you can't disregard any of them, but if you just kind of let the other two guys do their thing, and it's gonna not go well for you. It's really not. They're gonna just score at will, score whenever they want to, and it's not gonna be close if you let that happen. So you got to kind of maintain all three guys if you can. I know that's a tough task. Hey, go out there and shut down Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and quite
Right.
possibly the best player in the world right now in Kevin Durant. Uh, Go. Yeah, I would laugh at you if you told me to do that. So it's going to be tough for Milwaukee, no doubt. This is going to be a tough task. They're especially starting this series in Brooklyn in Game 1 on Saturday night. So this is going to be tough. It really is. But can Milwaukee beat this team? I think they have the talent, and they've proven that with how handily they beat Miami. I think they've proven that their talent is there, that they can be really good. But they're going to have to play at the top of their game right now if they want to beat this series, beat Brooklyn in this series.
Yeah, for sure. I think that another thing that not enough people are talking about is how interesting this coaching matchup is, because Steve Nash has had a really good first year in Brooklyn, but like we said last week, I feel like I could be the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets and have them in the second round of the playoffs. Um, so how much of that is really on Steve Nash and how much of that is him just, riding the coattails of the star players on his roster? And then with Mike Budenholzer, he's won Coach of the Year twice. He's had great teams in Atlanta and Milwaukee, but he never gets it done in the playoffs. So it's one of these two storylines are going to come to an end. Is it Steve Nash gets to the conference finals in his first year as a head coach, or is it Mike Budenholzer finally gets over that hump and gets Milwaukee 4 wins away from the finals?
I think the more intriguing headline is Steve Nash going to actually coach and just not sit on the bench and let his guys do their thing?
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point in the year, coaching becomes crucial
It
in
does.
in winning games. So I think Mike Budenholzer has proven that he has the track record and he has the talent to win. He just hasn't had the best players on his team. He hasn't had the best of teams. So this is a really good coach who has a really bad team. Like I think Jeff Fisher was a really good coach. He just had bad teams. This is another example of a guy that who's had bad teams and just but has done pretty good things with those bad teams. So
Yeah.
um, Budenholzer is a guy who's made something out of nothing more than a few times. So, but this Milwaukee team is not nothing. So he definitely has the talent and he definitely has the personnel there to win. And I think this is it going to be Nash or is it going to be Budenholzer? We'll see here in 4 games.
Yeah, we sure will. And you mentioned how crucial coaching is in the playoffs. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we'll get into this game here in a few minutes, but I think we saw it last night with the Mavericks and Clippers down the stretch. Most basketball fans would say Rick Carlisle is a better head coach than Ty Lue. And I think down the stretch, we saw it last night. I mean, Ty Lue looked flustered. Ty Lue looked intimidated by the moment. Rick Carlisle knew what worked for this team. Luka Doncic attacks, finds the open shooters, or takes it to the hole himself. And he capitalized on that. I think the Mavericks looked like the better team down the stretch, and the Mavericks made less mistakes. And that's a reflection on the Mavericks having a better coach.
Yeah, it is. And I always love when they cut to Ty Lue and he's just sitting there like
Ty Lue has the best facial expressions.
Like he's always sitting there looking around like he doesn't know what to do, and I think that's exactly what
He
he's
doesn't
thinking.
have his assistant coach LeBron anymore.
Exactly. So it's really it's all about coaching matchups, and Carlisle's proven that he's one of the NBA's best for a long time now. He still is, and yeah, I think coaching was the difference last night. You know, or Dallas pulls out that win, 105-100 last night in Los Angeles, and that's one. This is a completely backwards series where the teams that are supposed to win and at home, we haven't seen a home team win yet in this series.
Dallas is 3-0 in the Staples Center now.
Right, and the Clippers are 2-0 in Dallas, so it makes it's completely backwards right now. So it just proves that if you're really good, you don't need home court advantage because you just have the talent to win on the road, and winning on the road is really hard to do. I know winning on the road wasn't really a factor in home field or home court advantages where it wasn't really a factor last year, but it certainly is. It certainly plays to an extent. It's a factor for sure. So this is one that the coaching matchup was crucial, and I think we saw that last night. Carlisle was the better coach last night, and Dallas gets the win.
Yeah, they did. And before we move on to what I think has been the best game of the playoffs so far between Portland and Denver, the Boston Celtics made a lot of moves after losing to the Brooklyn Nets on Tuesday night.
You're telling me, man. Wow.
Danny Ainge steps down as the president of basketball ops. But here's the thing. They've already found a new president of basketball ops. It's Brad Stevens. He's not going to be the head coach of the Celtics anymore. He's moving into the front office to be the new president of basketball ops. Just a guy from the Horizon League, man. Goes from the head coach at Butler to president of basketball ops for the Boston Celtics. That's insane. But now the Celtics are in the market for a new head coach. We've heard the name Jason Kidd. We've heard the name Chauncey Billups. A name that I didn't think about that is interesting for a market like Boston is a guy like I don't know, Mark Jackson with the old Warriors coach, but a lot of direction that the Celtics could go, but I did not think that they'd be looking for a new head coach having Brad Stevens, but here we are. Brad Stevens, the new president of basketball ops for the Celtics, and they're looking for a new head coach, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's one. This is, I mean, I saw this and it's like, are you kidding me? Like this doesn't happen, yeah, unless you're Bill Belichick, this doesn't happen. And it's really it's gonna be interesting to see who they come who they come up with. I know there's been names thrown out like Becky Hammond, Greg Popovich's assistant there in San Antonio. She was a candidate for a lot of jobs last year. There's also guys that have been also other names that have thrown out guys from college. I've heard the name Juwan Howard, Michigan's head coach right now, and I highly doubt that Juwan Howard leaves Michigan after the success he had last year. But that's just a name that I've seen floating around. So this is one that I mean I sat there like jaw dropping. I'm like, I mean, I saw that tweet yesterday and my mouth literally went, "Are you kidding me?" So this is interesting. It really is. And maybe Brad Stevens knew. Maybe this is why he didn't take the IU job. I'm going to be salty about that for a long time. But maybe Coach Stevens knew that Danny Ainge was going to step down or retire or whatever he did. So this is really interesting. So I'm excited to see how this plays out, and I'm excited to see who Boston brings in as their next top guy.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely, I mean, it's not the way we expected it to unfold for sure. But it's crazy to think about. Like, I mean, I forgot to tease this at the beginning of the show, but we had another head coaching change that's absolutely enormous in the sports world in college basketball that we'll get into later on in the show. But a guy that I never thought I'd see retire is retiring. And it's like, what? What happened in that 12-hour stretch, man? Brad Stevens stepped down as the coach of the Celtics. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. This is. I mean, it's an insane sports world right now, and I don't think we're done seeing coaching changes. I really don't. There's a lot of turmoil within the Indiana Pacers right now. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Coach Bjorkgren here there in Indianapolis with the Pacers get canned, if you will. So Yeah, we're not done. There's going to be lots of coaching changes, I think, coming up here pretty soon as the playoffs start to get deeper, as we get deeper and deeper into the playoffs. So there's going to be lots of changes, and that's what's the exciting thing about sports. Every year, I mean, I look forward to the NFL. I look forward to Black Monday in the NFL when you see like 6, 7, 8 coaches get fired all on the same day. So. I'm literally glued to Schefter's Twitter that day. So there's lots of interesting headlines, especially in college basketball with the news that we saw yesterday. So it's going to be interesting. It really is.
It's for sure going to be interesting. I did not think we'd spend the first 20 minutes of this show talking about the Boston Celtics, but here we are. Let's get into what has definitely been the greatest playoff performance of my lifetime. I was not around for Michael Jordan, so I can't, speak. I can't speak to him, but this is up there with LeBron's 45, 15, and 10 in that game 5 against the Celtics when he was in Miami. This is up there with that dominant finals performance by Dirk. This is up there with that finals performance by Kevin Durant. Damien Lillard. I mean, he's already got quite the resume in the playoffs in his career, but he drops 55 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, a playoff record 12 threes made. But here's the crazy part. He played 52 minutes. He had 55 points, 71% from the field, 71% from three. Is that the most efficient 50-point game in the history of the NBA? It's got to be close.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting there watching this like, are you kidding me? How does a guy play this well? How does a team play this well and still lose? I mean, it's insane that they played that Lillard played this well. This whole starting lineup had fantastic games. It was just overshadowed by the fact that Damian Lillard is one of the best basketball players in the world right now. Lillard had 55. 6 and 10. But other guys had great games. All 5 starters put up double figures. Covington had 19. Powell had 13. Nurkic had 13. McCollum had 18. But Lillard had 55, and that's the only thing that matters, and that's the only thing that we're going to talk about. So it was really insane to see. I mean, he played 52 minutes. This game went to overtime, and this entire starting lineup had great games. There were only 5 players on the bench, 4 or 5 players that from the bench who actually played. So this is one that one of the best games that I've seen from any player in my lifetime. It really is, and this was one that Lillard played very well. I mean, he literally played as well as he could. 17 for 24 from the field, 12 for 17 from 3. He went 9 for 10 from the foul line. So this was one that I think will a game that we won't see in a long time. This is a game that we rarely see from players like this. And this team put up 140 points and still lost to a Denver team who I've said all along I think is the deepest team in basketball. So this was one that I think we're not going to forget for a really long time.
No, I totally agree. And I think that, something that I even forgot to mention, he had a contested step back 3 with 0.7 seconds left to force overtime. And then he hit a contested step back 3 with 4 seconds left to force double overtime. So if you thought, 55 on 70% shooting was impressive enough, he also hit 2 ice in his veins, game tying threes in the last 5 seconds of regulation and overtime. I've never seen anything like that. And somebody tweeted, I think as a joke, but he said, is this what it was like to watch MJ? And I think he was joking, but that's the closest thing I've ever seen to what I've heard about Michael Jordan. Damian Lillard was absolutely unconscious all night long. And it tells you what kind of a competitor he is, because they talked to him about it in the post game. And they're like, hey, you might have just had the greatest game in the history of the playoffs. How do you feel? And he's like, well, we didn't win, so I don't care. None of it matters. And that's just the kind of dude that Dame Lillard is. So an unbelievable performance with the books. Like you said, we're not going to forget about that one anytime soon, because there's 50-point games in the NBA, but 50-point games on 70% shooting with a playoff record for threes made and 2 absolute daggers to tie the game in the last 5 seconds. Damian Lillard put on maybe the greatest night of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a maybe. I think he did. This one is up there with the three he hit to win the series for the Portland Trail Blazers, a few years back, and that's one that I think we won't see a game like this for a long time. And like you said, he's just a heck of a dude, and I think. Comparing him to Michael Jordan after last night or after the other night's game was really plausible because he was that good. He had a game that we haven't seen from anybody since in a really long time, maybe since Kobe Bryant, since LeBron had that heck of a game a few years back. So this was one that I mean I sit there and I'm like we're literally watching history right now. This is insane. So and like he said, after the game he said it doesn't matter. We didn't win, so it doesn't matter. So it was awesome. I mean I'm sitting there going this is insane. I mean I was on Twitter. I didn't tweet anything, but I was on Twitter looking at everything because it was just that good. So and I'm going to say it again. If you don't have Twitter, get on there because it's the greatest movie that you will ever see.
Both the greatest and the worst at the same time.
Exactly. So, you get to see a bunch of athletes going back and forth, reaction to athletes, and you get to see me and Shea roasting each other. So what's better than that? So it's a lot of, yeah. But going back to the NBA. I
didn't even have to roast you yesterday, man. You got in the group chat without me even coming at you.
Don't remind me. Please don't remind me. So this was one that it was a performance that we've seen from in any sport, one of the best that we've seen in a very long time. Yeah. And it's one, especially in the NBA, that we won't see again for a while.
And he's like you said, he's right up there with Clyde Drexler for the greatest trailblazer in the history of the franchise. But it's the selfish basketball fan in me. We're going to get into the Knicks in a few minutes, but Dame, I feel like, is too talented, too fun to watch, too kept hidden in Portland. I would absolutely love to see Damian Lillard team up with Julius Randle in New York.
Could you imagine?
That would be spectacular, and I would probably watch like half the Knicks games.
I mean, I was already watching Knicks basketball in these playoffs, but I mean,
well, the thing is, we learned in this postseason that Randall's not a number one scorer in the playoffs. He's a number two scorer. Dame is one of the clutchest players in sports right now. If you get Dame, New York goes crazy every time they're in the Garden.
That's one that I think I mean, I would love to see it, but I think the Knicks are gonna be the Knicks and find a way to mess that one up. But if it does happen, I mean, we'll sit here and talk about it all day because Knicks basketball is going to be a lot of fun to watch next year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Damian Lillard can come to the Pacers too if he wants, but I don't think he wants to come to the Pacers.
Pacers are stupid. They would never do something like that.
The Pacers are a step back from Portland. Let's be real.
The Pacers aren't that smart. They won't do something like that.
Yeah, they'll go play for the Kings.
Oh, I mean, I will buy Pacers season tickets if Damian Lillard comes to Indiana, but that's not happening because Kevin Pritchard will not do that. So,
and you can't have Dame's clutch playoff performances if you don't make the playoffs, and that's the Pacers.
So it's so depressing. Half of my life is me just sitting here sad about how bad the Pacers are, but
at least you have the Colts.
That remains to be seen. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, especially as we move into as we move further into these playoffs. As good of a game as that one is, we got another one coming up tonight, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. And this one's back in Portland, so
we'll see. And Dame might be going for Wilt Chamberlain's record tonight. Let's be real.
Yeah, so we'll see if Dame can put up 100. We'll see if that happens. And I wouldn't doubt it because Dame is that good.
Do it. I think I learned on Tuesday night that it's Dame Lillard.
Right. So this is really interesting. I'm really excited to see how this plays out tonight. And another series that A team that has their back against the wall. That's the Los Angeles Lakers. This was a game that the Suns just dominated from start to finish. I turned it on in the second half, and I probably shouldn't have because I was just bored to death because the Suns were running up and down the court on the Lakers, and this was one that a lot of people didn't expect. I didn't expect the Suns to come out and play this well, but they came out and beat the Lakers by 30.
Yeah, they did. And I mean, not having Anthony Davis is a big loss, but there's no excuse for that Lakers team to lose by 30 points to anybody. There's no excuse for Dennis Schroeder to have 0 points. Dennis Schroeder turned down a 4-year, $80 million contract from the Lakers because he thought he was worth $100 million. And then he goes out and puts up 0 points in a Game 5 huge playoff game. So not the best night for Dennis Schroeder. I don't know why so many people are so high on Kyle Kuzma. I see a very raw bench player at best. I don't see the potential. I mean, I see that he has potential, but I don't see why every Lakers fan and a lot of basketball fans are like, oh my God, he's the next coming of, he's better than Brandon Ingram. I'm so glad we traded Brandon Ingram and not Kyle Kuzma. I'm like, stop it. Brandon Ingram's averaging 24 a game. Kyle Kuzma carries LeBron's duffel bag to the private jet.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's really just Kuzma's not that good. I agree with you. Just seeing how he performed the other night. I know he put up
better than Kuzma. Like Caruso's better than Kuzma. Caruso's not even that good.
Yeah, even though he put up 15 in that game the other night, it didn't matter because they still got blown out. So this was one that
Kuzma reminds me so much of like that. You sent me that video of Kent Murphy yesterday, and that was great. But there's another one where he's talking about the stereotypes on a baseball team, and like if NFL players play baseball and it's Dak Prescott and he strikes out the whole game. And then it gets to the 9th inning when they're down by 15 and he hits a bomb and he's like, see, I'm worth that contract. See, I put up the stats. That's what Kuzma reminds me of. He plays like crap when it matters. And then when they're down 15 in garbage time, he drops a quick 12 points and he's like, look, I average 15 a game. Stop it. You're not good.
Yeah. This is, that's, oh, I almost have no words. He's not that good. Schroeder has been great in these playoffs. I give him credit. He's been great. But last night or the other night, he wasn't good at all. He's I think he's the best bench player that the Lakers have. But this is a game where the Suns dominated from start to finish. They really did. Mikal Bridges had 13, Ayton had 8, Devin Booker put up 30, Cameron Payne had 16. Chris Paul didn't have the best of games. He had 9, 6, and 4, but this was one that he didn't need to have a good game because the rest of the team just carried the Suns to this win, and it was really great to see the Suns to get to this win. I'm not a Lakers fan. Lakers fans annoy me, to be honest. But I just thought it was hilarious to see the Lakers struggle the way they did. As great as LeBron is, and as I know all the debates about the greatest of all time. I get that and everything. I'm not a LeBron fan. I've never been a LeBron fan. But this is a game where I think this game proved that LeBron can't win by himself anymore. He needs to have another guy, and that other guy is Anthony Davis right now. Without Anthony Davis, the Lakers struggled.
Yeah, they sure did. And LeBron played well, honestly. LeBron didn't play that bad. Maybe not as well as he usually plays, but he had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He shot 60% from 3, 47% from the field. I don't think LeBron was the issue. Obviously, not having Anthony Davis is big, but like I said, there's no excuse to lose by 30. Talen Horton-Tucker was good. He had 11 points and 11 rebounds in 16 minutes. But my question is, why did Montrezl Harrell only play 12 minutes? He had 9 points in 12 minutes, but why did he only play 12 minutes? And then you have guys like, Wes Matthews, who put up 3 or 5 points in 22 minutes. You have guys like Caldwell Pope, who didn't score in 15 minutes. Schroeder didn't score in 26 minutes. 4 points for Markieff Morris in 11 minutes. Drummond had 7 points in 22 minutes. Like, nobody on the Lakers stepped up with Anthony Davis out. And if Anthony Davis can't play tonight in Game 6, it's got to be really the only two players that I think have a chance of stepping up for this team are Schroeder and Drummond. Maybe Montrezl Harrell off the bench, but I'm not counting on Kuzma to drop 20, 25 points tonight. Dennis Schroeder and, Andre Drummond's got to be all-stars tonight if the Lakers want to keep their season alive, because we've learned 37-year-old LeBron can't do it by himself. And Anthony Davis is a question mark tonight. Even if he plays, he's not going to be at 100%.
No, he won't. And a not 100% Anthony Davis is not a good Anthony Davis. We've seen that. He needs to be 100%. And he's a tad fragile apparently. If he's not 100%, he's not going to play, I don't think. So this is a game that I think that it's very important for the Lakers. This is an elimination game. And this game is going to be really intriguing. It really is. I'm going to sit here and watch this game tonight. Yeah. It's in Phoenix. It's in Los Angeles. So, this is going to be one where I think if the Suns can put up a performance like that at home, we'll see if they can take that momentum and take it on the road. So I'm excited to watch this game tonight, and I'm excited to see if the Suns win this game tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun to see them celebrate, and they've earned it, no doubt about it. But to see the Lakers bow out in the first round of the NBA playoffs is going to be, we'll sit here and talk about it all day because that's what we do. But it's going to be a fun game to watch tonight. There's two really intriguing games tonight. There's Nuggets Blazers and Suns Lakers. So I'm going to sit here and watch both of those games tonight because these playoffs have been a lot of fun, and they've lived up to the hype.
They have. They sure have. And, I know they do the voting before the playoffs start, but Monty Williams has even more cemented him as coach of the year, I think, in this series. So, who would have thought? Depending on what plays out tonight, we could have the second round set heading into tomorrow. And who'd have thought it could be in the West, Jazz, Mavericks, Nuggets, and Suns. And then in the East, Sixers, Hawks, Bucks, and Nets. Like, if you told me before the season, the only three teams out of that list that I thought maybe would have gotten there is Denver, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn. Maybe Dallas, but I didn't think, I thought Utah would probably be a 4 or 5 seed. I wouldn't have been surprised if they got knocked in the first round. I did not think Phoenix would be this good. I did not think Atlanta would be this good. I did not think, it's been a really weird postseason, but it's been fun because it's shown the youth of the NBA, the future of the league, and a lot of new superstars, a lot of, guys making their playoff debuts, and they're living up to the hype. Trae Young is New York's most wanted right now. And I did not watch a lot of Hawks basketball, and I think I gave a lot of crap to Trae Young because he's kind of a guy that just draws fouls, and I'm not a fan of that kind of style of basketball. But Trae Young played his butt off in that series, and Trae Young looks great so far in his first playoffs. And he embraced being the villain of New York, and I respect it because he played really, really well.
What surprises me about all this with Atlanta?
What's that?
Nate McMillan can win in the playoffs. It's something
it's not McMillan.
Are you kidding me? This is insane. I sat here and watched Pacers basketball for the last 5 years with Nate McMillan as head coach, and he's won games in the playoffs, but he's never won series.
Yeah.
And he won a series. So it's wow. It's funny how life works, isn't it? Your team is bad in the playoffs for the longest time with the same guy as your head coach. Yep. And now he goes somewhere else and wins with a team who I think, they certainly have, they have more talent with this team. But
it's like with Dusty Baker on the Reds. The Reds fired Dusty Baker because he kept losing in the NLDS, and then he goes to the Nats, gets him to the NLCS, and he goes to the Astros and gets him 1 win away from the World Series. It's like, oh, so it was a Reds problem. Got it.
Yeah. So this was a Pacers problem. It's always a Pacers problem, but this is, good for Coach McMillan. Atlanta's played their butts off in this series. They really have, and they deserve to win this series. They really did. I feel terrible because I wanted to see the Knicks play well, and I wanted to see them win a playoff series. But it just wasn't their season, and as good of a season as they had, it wasn't meant to be in this year's playoffs. So I think I think Jim Dolan and company are going to go out, and Coach Thibodeau, and that entire crew there in New York, they're going to go out and they're going to middle in free agency a little bit. They're going to see what they can get. Is it Dame Lillard? I don't know. But if it is, we'll sit here and we'll talk about it all day because that's going to be awesome. So it's going to be a lot of fun coming up here in this off season. This is going to be a really intriguing off season, especially when we see what the Celtics are going to do at head coach, when we see what these Knicks are going to do as far as addressing their talent goes. So this is going to be a really intriguing off season. So I'm excited to watch these storylines.
Let's move on to last night's game. Philly closes out the Washington Wizards. 32 points from Bradley Beal, 24 from Russell Westbrook, but not enough. The Sixers get 28 from Tobias Harris, 30 from Seth Curry, and as well as 13 off the bench from Tyrese Maxey. Ben Simmons has 19 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, another triple-double for Ben Simmons. He's really stepped up in this playoffs. And the Sixers draw a date with the Atlanta Hawks. Philly played well in this series. Obviously, Embiid has a slight tear of his meniscus, and that's kind of a question mark moving forward. But this Philly team's the 1 seed for a reason, and they looked the part in round 1, and I think they'll also look pretty good against Atlanta in round 2. I like Atlanta. I like the way they played in round 1, and I think they can make this series competitive. But I think they're still a little too young and too inexperienced to get past the 1 seed Sixers.
Yeah, the Sixers played very well, and they deserve to win this series. We both thought they would win the series. They did, and this is it's going to be fun. It really is going to be fun. Atlanta's a great team. We saw it, and I feel a Pacers rant coming on here in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. But
you're gonna get a Reds rant out of me and a Pacers rant out of you in the same day.
The listeners to this show got to be entertained. I think they are. But this Sixers series, the Sixers Hawks series is going to be an interesting one, because if McMillan and company beat the Sixers, I will sit here on this show and just yell aimlessly for 2 hours. So this is going to be a fun series. As good as games that Beal and Westbrook had. Beal put up 32, Westbrook put up 24. It wasn't enough. These Sixers put up, they played well. Curry had 30, like you said. Tobias Harris had 28, and they did all of this without Joel Embiid. So
they sure did.
And it was really great to see. Dwight Howard. I thought Dwight Howard was like 55 years old, but somehow he put up 12 points. So it was really great to see, and good for the 76ers. They've been the best team in the Eastern Conference all year, and they proved that yesterday.
They sure are. They sure did, I should say. But no, it's funny to see. Like I said, I've thought Philly's been overrated for a few years now. But hey, they get rid of Brett Brown, they go get Doc Rivers, and they look like a competent team. So somebody joked and said that the Celtics should sign Brett Brown as their next head coach. I'm like, oh, don't do that to him. Oh no, you'd have a better chance of winning with Ty Lue.
Yeah, no, just no.
So the Sixers and Hawks match up in the second round. Let's get into the Hawks game. They beat the Knicks 103-89 in Game 5 out in New York. The Knicks go 1-3 at home, or excuse me, 1-2 at home, 0-2 on the road. Going 1-2 inside Madison Square Garden ain't gonna fly. So the Hawks end the next season, like we said. Clint Capella has 14 points, 15 rebounds, as well as 2 blocks. John Collins has 13. DeAndre Hunter has 15, 36 from Trae Young. And then on the Knicks side, they were led by Julius Randle with 23, 17 from RJ Barrett, and as well as 11 from Emmanuel Quickly. Derrick Rose struggled. He only had 6 points, 5 assists. But after the game, Derrick Rose did have a really good series. And after the game, he said he would love to stick around with the Knicks. He said, quote, who wouldn't want to stay in a city like New York? So it sounds like the Knicks and Derrick Rose are going to be mutually interested in getting back together.
Yeah, especially after the year they had, and and especially with all the excitement that they have for the years ahead. So it's really going to be great to see if Lillard comes to New York and they have Rose as well as Randall there, along with
Quickly,
right.
Poppin', yeah.
Yeah, with especially with and then they're going to have Coach Thibodeau back, so it's going to be awesome. This NBA off. I haven't looked forward to NBA off seasons in a long time, especially after last year where the Pacers messed up everything they did. But
Uh,
this is going to be really cool, and I'm excited to see what other teams decide to do, especially the New York Knicks.
yep, no doubt about it. So the Knicks get a chance to rebound, reload. The Hawks move on to the second round and take on the Philadelphia 76ers. Memphis and Utah. Let's get into that. Donovan Mitchell was spectacular last night. Donovan Mitchell with 28 points in the first half. He finished with 36 for the game, I believe. He finished with 30, but also had 10 assists. Rudy Gobert had 23 points, 15 rebounds, 17 for Royce O'Neal, 17 for Bogdanovich, 24 for Jordan Clarkson. This Jazz team is really, really good, man. They hit 17 threes. They shoot 52% from the floor. And other than Ja Morant, who had 27, Dylan Brooks had 27, but the Grizzlies are a young team, and they showed it in this series. They have a lot of fight. They have a bright future, but they're just not on the same level as the Utah Jazz right now. So props to Utah. They took care of business, and they're on to the second round and wait the winner of Mavericks and Clippers.
Another thing that, I feel like I'm relating every one of these playoff series to the Pacers because it seems like there's a player in the series or a coach in the
It's pretty
series
good to make the playoffs, Parker. The Pacers didn't make the playoffs.
that the Pacers, kind of messed up. And when they did mess up was letting Bojan Bogdanovic walk. I know they still have Doug McDermott. I call him Dougie McBuckets, but Bojan Bogdanovic is way better than Doug McBuckets, and this is
buckets.
so. This is a Jazz team, and give them a lot of credit. They're really good. They really are. They have Mike Conley Jr., who hasn't had the best series, but he's played well when he's had to. Jordan Clarkson put up 24. Bogdanovic had 17. Gobert had 23, and Mitchell had 30. So this was a Jazz team that I think that I played well given the circumstances. This was not your typical 8 seed in the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant had played very well in this series, as well as Dylan Brooks and Jonas Valanciunas. So this was a series that I think we both thought the Jazz were going to win, but Memphis put up a heck of a fight. All these games were pretty close, and the Jazz come out with a win.
Yeah, they sure do. And I'm excited to. So, like I said, they play the winner of Mavericks and Clippers. I'll call it like it is. I mean, I think that this Mavericks Clippers series could still go either way, and I think it goes 7 games. I think LA finds a way to win Game 6, and it comes down to Game 7. But right now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm rooting for the Dallas Mavericks. I like them better than the Los Angeles Clippers. Jazz versus Mavericks would be so much fun to watch because you'd see 48 minutes a night of Donovan Mitchell versus Luka Doncic, and how fun would that be?
I mean, it's going to be a blast. Donovan Mitchell is one of the NBA's best stars right now. He won the dunk contest a couple years back. So this is really, it's going to be really interesting if the Mavericks can pull out this series with the Clippers. This is going to be a fun semifinals round matchup. It really is. We're going to see um, two of the best big men in the country go up against each other, and that's Gobert and Luka, as well as Porzingis. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to see. I feel like these playoffs just keep getting better. The better teams end up winning these series, and I think the Hawks proved that when they beat the Knicks last night. And this is going to be it's going to be awesome. These playoffs. I think this is the best playoffs we've had in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. It feels like 7 or 8 teams could win the championship.
Right, and it's not the same 2 or 3 teams that we see every year. It's not the Warriors. It's not the Cavaliers. It's not the Lakers. The Lakers have their backs against the wall right now, and that's not something we've been accustomed to seeing. So teams like the Utah Jazz, teams like the Phoenix Suns, the 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, teams that we never would have expected 10 years ago to be in the NBA playoffs and fighting for a championship. So this is a year that has been unlike any other. And just in that we've seen teams that aren't supposed to win.
Right.
So and it's really awesome to see. So give all these teams credit. They've played very well.
For sure.
And it's gonna be interesting to see going forward to see who has who wants it more. And right now, team right now we're seeing the Phoenix Suns want it more. We're seeing the Atlanta Hawks want it more. We're seeing the Jazz want it more than anybody. So as well as the Milwaukee Bucks, they swept the Miami Heat and have played as good as any team in these playoffs. So going forward, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, so let's get, we have about 5 minutes left here in hour number one. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on WWSU 106.9 or on our YouTube channel at WWSU 1069, I should say. You can follow us on social media at WWSU 1069. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Make sure you give us a follow there. We just dropped we're dropping later on today a show spotlight graphic. So make sure you follow that. Make sure you listen to that show. I'm not going to spoil it yet, but it's not us because we're not good enough. But we'll get there, Parker. We got to keep grinding. We got to keep putting the work in.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel, man. Our marketing director is going on vacation for a week, and we have an event, an orientation that we have to go to next week, and I have no freaking clue what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. So I think we're gonna figure out like 2 hours before, like we always do. But right, and I think that's when we do our best work, is when we're scrambled to figure out what the heck we're
just
gonna
gonna
do.
make something work. Yep.
Right. We'll wing it, and that's what the best things in radio come is when we wing it. And I think if I've learned anything over the past almost coming up on a year, if I've learned anything, winging it was when the best things in radio come. So our marketing director is going to be gone. Our content's going to take a dip for that week, but we're not going to be terrible. A lot of we'll admit a lot of our stuff is mediocre. We'll admit that, but we try our best to put out good content. And and I think Morgan's doing a better job of that than anybody right now. So I'm excited to see these show spotlights. He's done a fantastic job with the staff's highlights here over the last few weeks. So it's going to be a lot of fun coming up here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it sure is. And so last thing I want to talk about here in hour number one, we've got about 4 minutes. How damn good at basketball is Luka Doncic? Oh my Lord, was he a treat to watch last night?
Oh, he's so good, man. I mean,
2 points, 8 rebounds, 14 assists, and I'm not going to lie to you. He didn't even play that good in the fourth quarter. He did most of that in 3 quarters.
I don't know what to say anymore.
He's 22.
What can you say about this guy that hasn't already been said? He's just so good.
He's 22. He's still got 18 years of an NBA career to go.
It's not fair how good at their jobs some people are than others. I mean, I'd like to think that we are both pretty good at what we do, but we are not. We are not as good. We are not on Luka Doncic's levels of what he's doing.
I'm like
not even close.
I'm like the Dorian Finney-Smith of the radio game. Like I'm lucky to get 10 minutes a night.
Dorian Finney-Smith played 40 minutes. He put up 8 points. So
yeah, so that's me. I get all the run. I get all the publicity, but I put up mediocre stat lines.
Yeah, this is we do what we do for a very long time, and we're lucky to put up 10 points. That explains.
I call 30 basketball games over the course of the year, and I'm lucky to have 2 good ones.
Right,
2 for 30.
It's better than 1 for 30, Shea.
I suppose.
Yeah, you got it. So, but still, Luke is he's just so good. He's so good. We're.
One of these days, I've told you numerous times I'm going to buy a Luka jersey. One of these days, I'm going to do it.
It's if he hasn't proved you right, or if he hasn't proved you wrong to buy his jersey now, I can't imagine what's coming. I can't imagine what he's going to do.
He's still 4 or 5 years away from his prime.
It's not fair.
He put up.
It's really not.
I just found a stat today. Notable NBA players with 4 40-point games in the playoffs. Okay, Tim Duncan did it in 239 games. Magic Johnson did it in 138. Kobe Bryant did it in 181. Luka's done it in 11. He's played 11 playoff games. And he has 4 40-point games. And he also had 14 assists. He could have scored 60 last night if he wanted to.
It's not fair. It's not fair how good some people are at their jobs. There are very few people that are really, really good at what they do. You know, Luka Doncic, Jim Nance, you know, guys that are just on a whole nother level than everybody else. You know, there's guys that are, you know, really good at what they do. You know, Bob Grant is on that level, I think.
Malstig's on that level.
He is. You know, the goats of what they do.
Goat.
Jim Nance, Luka Doncic, Bob Grant, and Patrick Schmalstig are like the four that come to mind.
The Mount Rushmore of goats.
Yes. They really are. And you know, I think we will never reach levels of what any of those great people have been able to do. We will never come close to what Patrick Schmalstig has done here.
Like I said,
you know,
Pat's the Luka Doncic of WWSU, and I'm the Dorian Finney-Smith.
I think Patrick's the LeBron James of WWSU, the guy who's been around forever, and he's been really good.
That's a fun segment. Which athlete is each staff member at WWSU? Man.
Yeah, that's a segment we'll have to break down here coming up on a future show. Well, I'm going to write that down. But you know, it's not fair how good some people are at their jobs. And Luka's at the top of his game at 22.
Yeah,
at 22, he's at the top of his game. And even if this isn't the top of his game, I am terrified to see what is the top of his game.
It's gonna be insane. He legit might be Russell Westbrook 2.0. In his prime, he might be averaging 35 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists on like 55% shooting.
It's unbelievable.
Luka's gonna have like 4 or 5 MVPs.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. And you know, with the stats he's put up in these playoffs, I wouldn't surprise to see the first of those MVPs come next year. I really wouldn't be.
Really. And hey, I mean, finals MVP is still on the table for this year. If he keeps playing like the way he's playing right now.
Yeah.
Dallas honestly is right. I mean, Utah, Dallas, and Phoenix look like the 3 best teams in the West right now.
Yeah. And
Denver's up there too, but I mean, it's a coin flip if Utah and Dallas match up. I could see either of them winning. But I mean, I think if it ends up being Denver, Phoenix, Utah, and Dallas, I think Dallas can beat any of those 3 teams and get to the finals.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. You know, Dallas they're very talented. You know, they have Jalen Brunson, Willie Cauley-Stein. You know, Dorian Finney-Smith, who put up 8 points in 4 minutes. The Shea Neal of the Dallas Mavericks is Dorian Finney-Smith, like you said. So, you know, they have Kristaps, they have Boban.
A t-shirt. I'm the Dorian Finney-Smith of college radio.
Right. But you know, this is you know, the Dallas Mavericks are as good as anybody, and they can beat anybody right now. And they've proven that they beat a Clippers team who I think is one of the best in the West right now, and they're playing really well.
Yeah, they are, and I think that unlike a lot of these really talented teams in the playoffs that kind of fold under the pressure, the Mavericks are really well coached. They're really well coached. That was the big difference last night between the Clippers and the Mavericks is final 6 minutes of that game, either team could have won. One team made more mistakes than the other, and that's because the one team that made more mistakes does not have as good of a coach. Rick Carlisle against Ty Lue, give me Rick Carlisle 10 times out of 10.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
All right, hour number 1 in the books. We're going to step away for a few minutes. When we come back, we got a lot to get into. The Reds made me sad on Tuesday night. And they're going to be back to making me sad tonight because they play the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're about to get their booty stomped. I tried to find a way to make that radio appropriate, but let's just say that I'm not looking forward to this weekend because the Cardinals always beat the Reds. So the Dodgers, though, thank you, Cody Bellinger, for beating the Cardinals single-handedly last night in the first inning. So we'll get into that. A lot to get into as well. The most clutch athletes in sports history. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady. There's a lot of obvious ones, but how about a guy like Dame Lillard? Where does he stack up now on the all-time clutchest players? We'll get into that and a lot more. Hour number 2. It's coming up next. Keep it real and keep it locked. We'll see you in 5. Hour number 2 of Keep It Real with Testa and Neal. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on WWSU 106.9 FM. I'm Shea Neal, alongside with me, Parker Testa. I'll be back here in just a second. We'll wait for his camera to turn on. There he is, the king. But we appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Thursday afternoon. Let's play a game, Parker. What phone should I get this afternoon? I'm getting a new phone. I'm in the market for one now.
Dude, I don't know enough about phones to tell you that.
What help are you?
None. I apologize.
Good Lord. I'll tell you what, it's going to be one that doesn't make me go broke. So I'm not, unfortunately, for those of you listening at home, I will not be getting the $1,200 iPhone 12. So that's not going to be something that flies because I just had to pay my rent yesterday. So don't have the cash for that. But I'm excited because I'll be able to use my camera again. My phone, man, I don't know what the heck happened to it, but I can barely call people right now. I can't send people messages on Snapchat. I can't open my camera. And there's just like random apps that open and then crash and it drains my battery. So I don't know what the heck is going on, but it ain't gonna fly. So I called my phone provider this morning. I'm like, yo, so I know my upgrade wasn't supposed to be until July, but we're going to get a new phone today.
Yeah, it's time to retire this one.
Time to retire this one, indeed. But all right, lots to get into here in hour number 2. I'm also in the middle of studying for an exam, so but we still got a lot to get into. How about let's get into a little bit of baseball talk. I will start off with today.
Can I say something? But before we start on baseball, I need to get something off my chest here for a second.
Of course.
The Pacers are a joke. They really are. This is. I mean, I've said it for months, but they really are. I mean, it almost feels like they're okay with being mediocre. You know who's allowed to be mediocre? I am. Oh. I'm allowed to be mediocre. You know, the Cleveland Browns can be mediocre if they want to. The Bengals can be mediocre if they want to.
I'd prefer if they didn't, but okay.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people that would prefer to not be mediocre. I know I would prefer not to be mediocre. But it seems like the Pacers are okay with being mediocre. And it's been like that for a long time. They haven't won anything in over 10 years. They haven't won anything since, Frank Vogel was the head coach. They haven't won anything since then, So this is terrible. I'm sitting here watching this as a Pacers fan, and I want to gouge my eyes out. I really do. This is terrible. I can't watch this for very much longer. I'm about to give up my Pacers fanhood, which is something that I never thought I would say, but I'm embarrassed to be a Pacers fan right now. Is this what it's like to watch, Detroit Lions football? Is this what it's like?
I thought you were going to say Reds baseball, and I was going to say yes.
Is this what it's like to just have your team suck and just not go anywhere for a long time?
Yep. Welcome to the life of Reds fans.
Okay, I'm done. We can continue.
My turn? All right. I got off work early on Tuesday. I got off at about 3:30. It's the earliest I've gotten off since I became the general manager of WWSU. I usually work until about 5:30. So I have a couple friends that go to UC, and I shot them a text, and I'm like, hey, it'd be really fun. The Reds have won 2 consecutive games. Let's go to the game tonight. And they're like, I'm in. So buy our tickets, get parked. We're in the stadium. It's Aaron Nola versus Sonny Gray. Pretty good pitching matchup. Expect a good game. It was a good game for a little bit. Tyler Naquin hit a 2-run bomb in the second inning. Reds strike first. Sonny Gray gives up home runs to Ronald Torreyes and Odubel Herrera. The game is tied. Sonny Gray gives up another run in the 4th. Phillies take the lead. Sonny Gray gets pulled in the 5th. The Phillies now lead, I believe, like 5-2 at this point. And then the 6th innings when it came crashing down. The Phillies score 8 runs in the 6th. I looked at some of my friends. I said, I'm hungry. Let's go get some Conies at Skyline. We bounced. And I'm glad we bounced because the Reds lost 17-3. 17-3. I spent money to watch that. I tweeted that night, and I'm 100% serious about that. I could have caught up on sleep. I'm always tired as hell. I could have caught up on sleep. I could have watched a movie on Netflix and sat in bed for 3 hours. I could have enjoyed my Tuesday night that I got off early. But no, I said it's a good idea to spend $100 to go to Cincinnati and watch this butt of a team play a mediocre Philly team and give up 17 runs in 5 innings. And then they get rained out yesterday, or else they probably would have lost yesterday too. Now they go to St. Louis, and they're about to get curb stomped by a team that actually knows how to play baseball. So it's not fun times in Cincinnati right now. And I would say I'm excited for Bengals season, but I'm only excited for the first 4 weeks before Joe Burrow gets hurt again. So I hate it here. I really hate it here. When's Wright State volleyball coming back? At least they win.
Oh, I
spent money on it, Parker. I burned through a paycheck to watch the team give up 17. I'm sad. And I'm done, but I'm sad. Ugh.
On another note, the Dodgers kicked butt last night.
They did. I'm so proud of them. Cody Bellinger's my guy. Thank you. Thank you for making Carlos Martinez look like the bum that he is.
It was, see, this is what bothers me about the Dodgers. They just decide to be good whenever they want and just play. They beat the teams that they're not supposed to, and they lose to the ones that are bad. They lost. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Cincinnati Reds. That's
embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie.
And then they come out and they beat. They put up 11 runs in the first inning on a Cardinals team that's supposed to be good. This team should be. I don't know. This is just, it's just not good. This is a guy who, I don't know why Dave Roberts continues to play Yoshi Tsutsugo. He's batting 157. Why? Don't play him if he's batting 157. You should know better than that.
Why?
I'm glad to have Bellinger back. He played very well last night. But this is, I don't know how much longer I can stand this. I know I don't get the Gavin Lux hype. Sure, he has one good game in every blue moon, but this, it seems like once every 6 months, Gavin Lux hits a home run. Great, congratulations. Good for you. And this is like, I don't know. You think batting 241 is acceptable? No. Great, congratulations. He bat 241. Chris Taylor's batting 281. Awesome. Great. That's what I love to see. Mookie's batting 260. This is a down year for Mookie, and he's batting 260.
Once he's had
Lux has had a great couple weeks, and congratulations. But I don't get the hype. I really don't.
Yeah. I'm sitting here just absolutely like 100% willing to trade fandoms with you if you want. If you're ready to give up on the Dodgers, you can walk into the realm of Reds.
I'm not ready to give up quite yet, but this is
reigning champs or anything.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not ready to give up. There's been times that I have been ready to give up when you win 5 games in 20. I lose 15 out of 20 in the stretch of 3 weeks.
Here's what I go through. I've been alive for almost 22 years. I turned 22 in July. The Reds have made the playoffs 3 times since I've been born. They got swept by the Phillies and no hit by Roy Halladay. They won 2 games against the Giants and then lost 3 straight 1-run games at home. And they got shut out in back-to-back games by the Atlanta Braves and wasted 8 innings of shutout baseball by Trevor Bauer, the Cy Young Award winner, who left for your Dodgers. So, I implore you, the bright spot of the Reds over the last 3 years has been Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo's ERA this year, 7. It's June. You're not supposed to have I have a 7 ERA in June. Not Luis Castillo. I'm just done with them, man. I'm not even watching them at this point.
It's gotten that bad where you won't watch?
I can't handle it, man. It's bad on my mental health. I'd like to go to sleep happy.
Oh,
this side of me. When I watch the Reds, you get this side of me.
You get the upset.
Probably in the offices across the hall, they're like, "What the hell is he screaming about?" And it's the Reds.
Well, if anybody knows you, you would think that they would guess the Reds.
Reds, Bengals, Wright State. I yelled about a lot of things, so they can make out something, but it's sad because I'm like the parent right now, and the Reds are my child, where I just don't know where to go with them, man. Like, I've tried everything to help them out. I've tried everything to help them improve in life, and it's almost like I'm giving up on my kid. Like, I can't stop you from going down the path of drugs and alcohol, and you're going to end up in prison, and I just have to accept that.
Oh, this is great. I mean, I don't get I don't laugh as hard as I do very often, but when you just sit here and complain about the Reds, I just think it's hilarious.
Wait till I get my ESPN show back. That's even more fun.
I'm going to be tuning in for that.
Of course you are, because everyone in Dayton tunes in for that. No, I'm just kidding. I get like 25 listeners. It's not bad.
It's better than 24.
You're right. Baby steps. And yes, 20 of my 25 listeners are 40-year-old men that at me on Twitter and say that they do a better job hosting my show than I do. But I actually told this yesterday to Patrick and a couple other people, and I'm like, look, the only time I've ever really gotten heated on ESPN is when somebody called into my show and he just caught me on a bad day, and he's like, look, you suck. You're a terrible show host. I don't know why ESPN gave you this gig. I could host better than you. You're pathetic. Get off the air. And I just clapped back at him, and I'm like, listen here, Todd. You're listening to the show, so clearly I'm doing something right, because you think that I'm so bad that you have to tune in to laugh at me. And then I also, just because, he caught me on a bad day, I threw in, why don't you do something more productive with your life, like taking care of your family or getting a job, instead of listening to a 20-year-old talk about the Reds on radio? He did not call back after that.
See, this is why when we get back to live shows, it might be the greatest idea or the worst idea in the world for us to take callers on this show.
People are going to call into this show, just swear, and then we have to dump everything.
So when we decide, if at some point we decide to take callers, you need to call in and tell us what side you're on, because if you do that, you'll get us to scream at.
What's up?
You'll get to scream you'll get to see us scream at each other about why I have the better takes, why I'm
sure everyone who's picked a side on Twitter has picked my side.
You know what, pal?
The staff's turning against you. I've told.
My time is coming. I promise you. My time is coming.
I'm just saying, the staff's turning against you. I've told like 3 or 4 people your plan to overthrow me and like get me overthrown as the GM of WWSU and get the staff to turn against me. And everyone I've talked to said they'd take my side over yours. So
what are you talking about? I would never do that.
It's you.
I would never do that. You don't know. You don't know me as well as you think you do. I would never do that.
Man. All right. So, happy Thursday to all of you.
What? What are we talking about?
I'm in the middle.
What does this become?
I'm hosting a sports talk show and studying for an exam at the same time. I think this is multitasking at its best. But, I think that, we obviously still have a lot to get into today. I want to get into this topic right here, the clutchest players in the history of sports. And, obviously, I have 3 that pop in my head. right off the bat, and I think they're really easy. It's Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Those are the at least the three that come to mind for me. The three big ones at least. But as you get further down the list, you think of guys like Tiger Woods. He's been the greatest, if not the greatest golfer up there with Jack Nicklaus in history, and it's really. I don't think people would put much of a debate up against that. If you think guys, if you don't think Tiger Woods is one of the best golfers in history, you don't know golf and get off the show. But it's there's no debate with Tiger Woods. I mean, he's won almost as many majors as Jack Nicklaus, and if Tiger Woods is 5 shots back and I'm leading, I'm terrified on a Sunday because I know what he's capable of.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Trying to think who else I would put on this, like at the top of this list. I think there's a lot of guys that you could classify as clutch, but who are the greatest of the greatest, and that's what makes this fun. It's early in the career, but do you go with a guy like Patrick Mahomes? I don't know. I think that, I know he lost in the Super Bowl last year, but he lost to Tom Brady, who's the clutchest football player of all time. So I don't know. Here's a guy that I think is extremely clutch and that we haven't talked about yet. Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, obviously one of the most gifted scorers in the history of basketball, but I remember that finals game, or those finals a couple years ago with the Warriors and the Cavs, and LeBron, played his butt off. It was the first year without Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant would take contested threes in his face from the logo, and it's like, man, there's nothing you can do. So I definitely throw Kevin Durant on that list as well. I think he's definitely not talked about as much as he probably should be in terms of clutchness, but because he's played with Curry and he's played with Westbrook and he's played with Kyrie and all that stuff. And speaking of Kyrie, he should be on this list as well. But two guys from the Brooklyn Nets that I think really deserve to be on this list: Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I agree with you on Durant. I don't think I've seen enough from Kyrie to put him at near the. I mean, he's on that list for sure, but he's not near the top. I don't think.
The thing is, Kyrie hit the biggest shot in the history of the NBA, where he hit that three over Curry's face to complete the 3-1 comeback.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in that aspect, but for me, it's what has he done since then? And I really, for me, he hasn't done a whole lot of notoriety since. So, after last night or the other night, I'm putting Lillard on this list. I am, because he's hit clutch shots. He hit 2 in that game last night or the night before. So this was one that, I mean, Lillard is quite obviously one of the best to ever, or one of the best blazers ever, up there with Drexler, like you said earlier. But there's guys that we don't really think about, and those are guys like Bill Russell. I mean, I saw this on Twitter, or I think it was Twitter yesterday, that he played 19 winner go home games in his career and never lost one of those. So he 2 NCAA tournaments, he played in the Olympics in a winner go home game, and 10 NBA game 7s, and never lost. So it's hard to be more clutch than that, and Bill Russell's in that conversation, as well as the greatest of the GOAT of kickers, and that's Adam Vinatieri. Like it all started with the tuck roll game. He made the field goal to tie it, and he made another field goal to win it. A few minutes later. So it's hard to be more clutch than the right leg of Adam Vinatieri.
Right.
And he's got to be up there. And if you ask New York Knicks fans, if you ask Spike Lee, Reggie Miller's on that list too. So There's a bunch of guys we can talk about with this conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up kickers. I didn't really think about that, but how about another guy who's actually still playing in the NFL, but the most accurate kicker of all time, Justin Tucker?
Yeah,
Justin, I mean, how many times? I mean, the Bengals have lost 4 or 5 games in my lifetime where they had a lead or it was tied, and then they bring out Justin Tucker for a 56-yard field goal, and they're like, you know, he might miss this. This is a pretty long field goal, and he drills it right down the middle. And it's like, oh god, dude's a robot.
yeah,
But Justin Tucker, I think, belongs on that list. Going to baseball. How about I'm thinking the captain, Derek Jeter.
yeah. You know,
I know that. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I know that a lot of people think he's overrated because he wasn't the best defensive shortstop and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of people kind of think that he's overhyped because he was a Yankee, but you can't deny that he was really dang clutch.
Yeah, you know, as much as I hate Derek Jeter and as much as I hate the Yankees franchise, you have to admit how great he was and that he was. You know, one of the clutch moments all the way down to the final at bat of his career where he hits a bloop single to walk off and win the final game of his career. So and I can still hear the announcer in my head, that call. So,
Yeah.
you know, Derek Jeter, where fantasy becomes reality.
Did
So
you have
this,
any doubt? Yeah.
yeah. So this is that Jeter is obviously one of the greatest ever, in as far as clutch moments goes. So you could go down the list of guys that Joe Montana, 31 career fourth quarter comeback wins. And as to go on top of it, you add in 4 Super Bowls. So Joe Montana's on that list for me as well.
Yeah. A guy that we both love and a guy that we both enjoy watching from the Boston Red Sox, David Ortiz. How clutch was he?
I love Big Pop.
Every time the Red Sox needed a home run in the playoffs, Big Poppy delivered.
Big Poppy is my favorite player of all time. He really is. Well, I mean, he's my favorite player that I've gotten to see play. He really is. I mean, I love Big Poppy. He's like one of the best. He's going to be the first DH elected to the Hall of Fame. He's going to be the first. You know, as much I know the Baseball Hall of Fame is not going to like that, and there's going to be a lot of voters going to say, "Oh, he's a first baseman." No, he wasn't. He was a DH, and he's going to be the first elected to the Hall of Fame. I have no doubt in my mind that that's going to be what he'll go in as.
Every Shockster goes into the Hall of Fame as a twin. That'd be funny.
Oh, don't do that to him. Don't do that. But it's going to be.
That's like That's like Pete Rose going to the Hall of Fame as an expo. Like what? Stop it.
No, or as much as it pains
Marlin.
As much as it pains me to say this, it's like Reggie Wayne going into the Hall of Fame as a New England Patriot. He was on the Patriots for 2 weeks in the preseason, and then he hated it and asked to be cut. So, I mean,
what if Tom Brady goes into the Hall of Fame as a Buccaneer just to spite New England?
There's going to be, he will go into the Hall of Fame as a Buccaneer. They're going to put 2 teams on his Hall of Fame bust. But and if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, putting him in as something other than a Green Bay Packer will be hilarious.
Played for the Jets and the Vikings. It's like, what?
Right. So there's
another good segment that we just thought of there. Like, big name faces in obscure places. Like Wade Boggs played a year for the freaking Devil Rays, and the Reds had Shin-Soo Choo for a year, and Marlon Byrd, and
Albert Pujols on the Dodgers right now. Like what?
Ichiro on the Marlins. Adam Dunn on the White Sox. Ken Griffey Jr. on the White Sox. Just saying.
Michael Jordan on the White Sox.
Michael Jordan on the Wizards.
Yeah. So
Larry Bird on Indiana State.
yeah, that's like the biggest one. But you know, and if Lillard comes to Indiana, Dame Lillard as a Pacer,
Oh,
Kawhi Leonard as a Pacer, which was something
Leonard with Raptors kind of obscure because he only played 1 year there.
Kawhi Leonard as a Pacer was something I never got to see, even though he was drafted by the Pacers.
Isaiah Thomas is a Cavalier.
Yeah, right. So there's, I mean,
Kobe is a Hornet.
yeah, right. This is, I mean, go down the list as one that, as guys that are in obscure places, as well as most clutch players ever. Kobe's going to be on that list. He's the top three guys that you think of when you think of clutch moments. And I think another guy that comes to mind as far as basketball is Steph Curry. He's the greatest shooter of all time. I don't think there's much debate
No.
with that statement there. So as well as guys like John Elway, wins Super Bowls for. He won 2 Super Bowls for the Denver Broncos. So there are guys that just have a different level in moments where they need to be great. Michael Jordan, Derek Jeter, Tom Brady. There are guys that can just turn it on when they have to. This
one hurts me to say because I hate him, but Ben Roethlisberger. Like 8 years ago.
Right. Ben is a guy who I think he hasn't had the success in recent years, but when guys that come to mind when they have to, they can go out and score points at will. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers is a guy who can do that. As well as Ben Roethlisberger and even guys now, Patrick Mahomes. I put Matt Stafford on that list as well. There are guys that are just great in the fourth quarter. As terrible as the Lions have been for a long time, Matt Stafford has won them games in the fourth quarter more than a few times. So there's guys in every single sport. You could go down the list in any sport of the greatest clutch players in their respective sports.
No doubt about it. It's really fun to think about. I don't know hockey that well. I wish I did know it better because I'm sure I'm missing out on a lot of big names. Feel free to reach out to us on social media and let us know who we forgot. At Parker Testa, at ESPN Shea Neal, because I know I'm going to forget a lot of names that are really important that I shouldn't forget. Because I'm trying to think, on my lifetime, I can't really think of older players than that. But Albert Pujols, when he was with the Cardinals, was pretty clutch. How about David Freese?
Yeah, he's another one that I know. His entire career is going to be summed up by Game 6 of the 2011 World Series. But
pretty good game to be
with the game he had, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty good game to be remembered for.
So there are guys like that in any sport, and like you said, we're gonna forget a lot of guys.
We are.
And feel free to come at us on Twitter for those names that we forgot. But how about just the clutch in radio? Patrick Schmalstick has to be on that list as well. He's constantly saving our butts during broadcasts. With anything.
Right, and to talk about another media org right across the hall, I mean, Dylan Collison's also on that list. I mean, legends of the game. Put a Collison and Schmalstick jersey in the rafters.
We got to do that. We got to make a WWSU basketball jersey and hang it in the studio for Pat.
Hang it in the studio rafters. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
just says Schmalstick number. What's his number gonna be? 1? Because he's number 1.
I don't know. Maybe the number about how old he is when he leaves.
Just a goat emoji.
Yeah, right.
Nah, it's got to be the number 10 for every year he spent at Wright State.
The best part for those out there listening,
right.
For those out there listening who might not know who Pat is, we are allowed to roast him because he roasts us right back.
And he roasts us worse than we roast him.
Right. Yeah. And so
You have to have a really good self-esteem to work here because you're gonna get bodied by the staff.
right. Yeah. And that's
Morgan's roasted me a couple times, and I thought she was the nice one. She might be the nice one. That's scary.
I love it. I love it. Anybody who makes who see I'm not there to bother you all day. So if Morgan can do it, that's a win.
Lord knows Morgan and Patrick do it. So Morgan doesn't bother me. Morgan just roasts me and sasses me. Patrick is a new level of. Sometimes he just like yesterday he made a really bad dad joke when I was in the office, and he said something like, I tried to dab backwards, but it was bad. And I'm just like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. Walk out. I'm done.
Oh.
I literally cold hard stared at him for like 30 seconds. I'm like, no, you're fired.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But it's funny though. You talked about like not a lot of people, or a lot of people that listen to the show might not know who he is. I was in 7th grade when he got here.
I was 10 years old when he got there.
I don't like to think of myself. I think it's one of the things I've kind of learned in my month as GM. I don't like to think of myself as higher up than everyone else. I try to think of myself on the same level as everyone here because I mean, Lord knows all of you are more talented than me. But like technically Patrick reports to me. I was 13 when he got to college.
And he's better at our jobs than any of us will.
He's better right now with what he does than I will be in 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
We're going to be a world of hurt when he leaves.
Good thing I'm getting out too.
But yeah, this is going to be, it's, you know, this is why we sit here and just talk about, you know, what we're doing because it's a blast. And I've said it like 48 times in the matter of this show, maybe more, but we're having fun more than anybody on campus.
Yep. And I legit said that yesterday to our good old friend Mackenzie down at the Guardian, and she agreed with me. She said that she doesn't think there's anyone that tops us in terms of having fun. And I'm like, yeah, but because it's true.
Yeah.
I was going over an email where I mentioned to our advisor that I think we can be the best Oregon campus. And she was sitting in the room. And I legit, right before I said, quote, I think we can be the best Oregon campus, I just looked her in the eyes and I'm like, I'm sorry. No offense.
Yeah. So yeah, that's funny though. And I really believe that. I really do. You know, and it's gonna all, you know, it's gonna start with these events coming up here, and especially the one next Friday that I'm really looking forward to. Looking forward to seeing people back at campus.
Morgan gave us a homework assignment, by the way. We have to get a picture of the table and the setup and maybe a couple students for our social media because she's going to be on vacation. So
we can do that.
Let's try and do our job competently for one day. We'll probably forget. And just to tell her in advance, I'm sorry, but.
Yeah. You know, with the quality of work that we put out, we'll forget about something, or we'll miss something, or you know, that's what we do. But like we said, we're having fun, and if we forget something every now and then, who cares? You know, we're having fun, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes left on the show. I want to end it talking about some of the jerseys and hats for the teams in the college baseball playoff tournament, whatever you want to call it, the road to the College World Series. I don't know what you want to call it, the tournament. But I do want to throw in that we will one day pick an athlete comp for every member of the WWSU staff, because I think that could be the funniest 20 minutes of my life. Who would I make you? Like, I'm trying to think. You're really young. You're talented, but you can be stupid. So, Kyle Kuzma. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you had to go there.
I'm just kidding. You're more talented than Kyle Kuzma. I think you're like Trae Young. You have talent and you're young, but sometimes you chuck up bad shots.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Kyle Cruz. Oh, I've played for like 3 different people. The sound of the awe you made when I said I think you have a better chance of getting a date, and everyone thinks you just sound in so much pain.
I was. That was. I mean, you roasted me hard.
Oh, oh. We woke up and chose violence on that Friday afternoon.
Yes, we did. I think that last 10 minutes was the greatest segment in show history to this
It's
point.
up there. It's top 3 for sure. Um, okay, let's pull out my phone, see if it works for 10 minutes. But I'm gonna pull up these jerseys and hats, and we're gonna talk about some of the best ones. Let's start off with the one that we know is obviously the best one in the tournament, and that's the Raider Gang.
Yes. Yes.
Easy.
Right.
You know what the Raider Gang really needs? I don't know if they have this or not, but I've never seen it. But I want them to have a camo jersey like the basketball team does.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It really would. They would have a, you know, that'd be awesome. You know, they need to have a. Uh, I mean, I like the hats that they have now. The green and yellow one I like a lot, but that black one is sweet. It
Mm,
really is.
sure
So
is.
you know, there's some. You know, I will sit here and talk about hats all day. I think I have an obsession with hats because I mean, I'm looking up at my closet right now and I've 5 stacks of like 6 or 7 deep, full
Yep.
of hats.
Yep.
And my problem is I keep buying them and I only wear like 5 or 6 of them. So,
Well,
um,
if you're following along on the YouTube feed, I'll show you my screen. This is on College Baseball Hub. They have a picture of all the hats on Instagram. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, by the way, at Shea Neal 01. There you go. Yeah, I double check.
nice plug right there.
Hey, I appreciate it. If I'm going to show my Instagram feed, I'm going to tell people to follow it. But the one that catches my eye right off the bat. I don't know if you are you on this page? Can I start talking about it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's on a team. It's a team that's in the region for Wright State, and it's Liberty. I like Liberty's camo hat, and I like that kind of navy, all navy one. And then they have the white front, the black back, or the blue back, and the red bill. Liberty's got some good hats.
They do. You know,
I don't know
I
if they
think
have a good team, but their hat game's pretty strong.
right. I think my favorite one of that group is that all blue one. The all navy one I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of these are really cool. Like one that catches my eye as well as the one right below it is the Indiana State. That powder blue hat is one that I
Yep.
love.
Yep. Agreed. One that's going to be, I'm going to get ridiculed if I don't bring it up. It's easily the top 5 hat in baseball. The camo red, white, and blue star of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, yeah. It's got it. Yeah, that's up there definitely. There's
That's iconic.
um
That's Vanderbilt baseball in one picture.
yeah, sure is. You know, there's one that's one that is like you said iconic in college baseball as well as the star with the V in the middle of it is one that I
Mm-hmm.
like a lot as well. Another one that catches my eye is where'd it go? I just had it. Where'd it go?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, there it is. Just kidding. The Notre Dame regional is the green hat with the shamrock right in the middle of it is one
I'll
from
tell you
Notre
what.
Dame that I like.
Yeah, navy and gold is obviously known as Notre Dame colors, but I really like that white Notre Dame logo on the hat right next to that green one that you're talking about. I
Right.
like it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, there's you could go down the list of hats. University of Miami that white hat with the orange M is one that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to the top row. How about the New Jersey Institute of Technology making it to the tournament? And how cool does their hat look? That they have the red with the blue bill and the blue back, and then the blue with the red bill and the red back. It's pretty simple, but it works. I like both of them.
Yeah, NJIT is a team that we haven't seen in a lot of college sports since basketball.
They're nerds.
Right. So yeah, so they're a lot of fun. And how about that green Arizona State hat?
Oh my
You know,
goodness.
Arizona State they have orange and red as their colors, but they have a green one that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. A couple other ones that I want to touch on here. We still got plenty of time, obviously, but TCU, that purple one with the white TCU is just really, really iconic. I like the black one too. And then they almost have like a Twins logo. If you see it in the middle there on that white one,
Right.
It's a little weird. That's probably my least favorite of the three, but I just like TCU's color scheme. For those of you that don't know me very well, up until about my junior year of high school, I wanted to go to TCU. I just like their color scheme. I like the purple, I like the black, I like the white, and I think it works on a baseball hat.
Another one that catches my eye that I really love is in the Lubbock Regional with Texas Tech. UCLA, that hat with the 42 on it is iconic. And the 42 obviously is for Jackie Robinson, but they have a blue and a yellow hat, or a blue hat with a yellow B for Bruins, of course, but then they have the same color scheme, but the 42 is yellow, which is one that I like a lot.
Yeah. And this is maybe my favorite hat on this list. I have learned over the last month or so, especially because we're, rebranding the station, that I am a fan of kind of more modern, dark color schemes. So I'm looking at Stanford here, and that black hat with the red S and the black tree. Oh, that looks so cool. And it's something that Stanford hasn't done before, and I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah. This is one that that black tree just makes it pop. It really does. And some of these teams only have one hat, which is, quite frankly, if you're out there listening, you are boring.
You suck.
This is like the one helmet rule in the NFL that needs to change, by the way. But there's a bunch of these on here that I just love.
I'll tell you what, I'm a sucker for camo hats, man. I'm looking at 3 in the bottom 4 rows: NC State, South Florida, and East Carolina. I like all 3 of those camo hats. I just think that camo scheme looks really cool. It's very simple camo color scheme with the logo over it, but that's what I think of when I think of college baseball. I like those alternate camo jerseys, and I think Wright State would be really, really have a really, really cool design next year if they have camo jerseys and a camo hat scheme.
Yeah, they would. I mean, I love the like you said, the camo jerseys that the basketball team wears, the men's basketball team wears. Those are really cool. And if Wright State, if the Raider gang can adopt a camo uniform like that, that would be really cool. And I would definitely try to hit up Coach Sogard and company for one of those hats, because they would be very cool.
For sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. Here's one that I really like as well. I am looking in the this is going back to the this is in the Stanford Regional. Nevada doing something very similar to Vanderbilt with the red, white, and blue inside the logo. I don't like this one as much as the Vanderbilt one because I don't think the blue works as well as the black does or the camo does. But it's still a really cool hat design, and it's by far my favorite of the 3 that Nevada's bringing to the tournament.
Yeah, this is I'm a sucker for these the plain old logo letter hats.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the Georgia Tech logo is really cool, as well as Oklahoma State, Mississippi State. That red is one that I like a lot, with the MS on there is really cool. So yeah, I'm just a hat guy.
Yeah.
I mean.
How about Florida's black hat with the blue F? What do you think about that one? They're down in the Gainesville Regional, second to bottom row.
Yeah, I mean, I love the black hat with the blue.
Great.
The blue F was really cool. I like the orange F as well with the blue hat. So there's a bunch of these that we could just go down the list and talk about, because they're.
And we could go into jerseys tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. So these are all really cool. I mean, UC Irvine, the navy with the yellow eye is really cool as well.
So again, if you're listening here on WWSU or following on the YouTube feed, go to College Baseball Hub on Instagram, and you can see every single hat that every single team is bringing to the tournament. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll show you one more time. It's going to be reversed, but it's College Baseball Hub. They have all the hats, and there's another account that I'll have to look for. I think it's on Twitter, but they have all the jerseys, and we can talk about that tomorrow, since, tomorrow is going to be the big day, Parker. Tennessee and Wright State go head-to-head in Knoxville, and I'm really excited. It came up really fast. We just talked about it. It felt like we were 4 or 5 days away, and it's tomorrow. And it's really, really, really exciting, really, really nerve-wracking, but I'm excited. I think this team's going to be locked in, ready to go, and I think I think they have a really good chance of upsetting Tennessee, but even if they don't beat Tennessee, I think they're going to give the number 3 overall seed a hell of a fight.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be awesome. We got a chance to speak with Coach Sogard and Quincy Hamilton on Tuesday, and they're fired up. They really are. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see how fired up they really are. Talking to Quincy, he said that there was a question asked to him that said, how do they prepare for teams like this? And he says, well, whether it's the Yankees or the Bad News Bears, we treat every team the same and prepare for every team the same way. So that was I don't think he could have said that any better. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see how excited they are. And he also talked about how losing 5 straight early in the year humbled them, and they say, "Hey,
No doubt.
we came close to beating these teams, and if we play really well, we can beat these teams." So, as well as Coach Sogard talked about how he loves the pitching depth on this team, and he kind of hinted at the pitching matchups. He hinted that they're going to stay the same with the same kind of
Or
same kind of way that they've organized their pitching staff. They're going to do Schramm, Bremer, Klein, like they always have. So, he also said hitting can be contagious. So if a few guys get hot, that can spread all the way down through the ninth guy in the order. So, I asked him what's going to be the what's the game plan for Knoxville? And he said they're just going to play our game. He said we're going to play our game, and he said some guys on our team tend to worry about the league that they're in, and that it's not the big SEC or the big name conference. But he said we don't care about that. He goes and he thinks that they're confident that they're the best team in Ohio and maybe in the regional. So he likes their chances, and I do too. I think this is going to be a fun regional to get to start watching, and I'm excited for it.
Well, here's what really excites me. Okay, I have two things here, and I'm glad you mentioned that they're keeping the pitching matchup the same pretty much. So unless something drastically changes in the next 24 hours, it seems like we're going to be seeing Jake Strand versus Chad Dallas tomorrow. Chad Dallas, Tennessee's best starter. Jake Strand, Wright State's #1. We're going to have a battle of aces tomorrow in Knoxville, and I am excited for it. Strand, we've said it multiple times. He's had a couple games that weren't at the level that he'd like them to be at, but he throws 95 with good off speed. I mean, he's got the stuff to shut down this Tennessee lineup for sure.
He does, and there's guys that Chad Dallas is certainly talented enough to mow guys down, and we've seen him do it all year. And there's a chance that he could do this to Wright State, but I don't think that'll happen. As good as this Wright State offense is, they're #1 in the country in runs scored. They have the best offense in the country, and they have a really good pitching staff to back it up as well. Coach Sogard talked about their pitching depth, especially in the bullpen, and so he said that they're not after last year they didn't take this year for granted. And he loved the crowds at the Horizon League tournament last week, and there's guys that Quincy Hamilton talked about their how they struggled offensively early in the year. And he said this, it's not an excuse, but I think something that really helped is they early in the year they didn't get to go outside, and they had indoor batting practice a lot, and just something as simple as being outside and having live ABs can really turn it around. And he that's what turned around this Raider offense. So he said this team is very hungry. And hopefully they get to eat and they get to feast here on the Tennessee Volunteers coming up here tomorrow.
I would love Tennessee's a really good team, and I know they're going to put up a heck of a fight. But I would love to see I'm obviously going to be watching from first pitch, but I would love to see a 4-5-0 Wright State lead go into the third inning or something like that. Just really stomp on the Tennessee Volunteers. I mean, Tennessee is going to give you a fight for 9 innings. I don't think we're going to see 21-3 like we did in the Horizon League Championship, but if Wright State can, be the first team to throw a punch, if you can land a solid punch on Tennessee and have a 2-0, 3-0 lead early in that game, that puts a lot of pressure on the Tennessee Volunteers. It takes the pressure off of Strand, takes the pressure off of that bullpen, and it takes the pressure off of the bats. You score first, everyone relaxes, and it puts a lot of pressure on Chad Dallas to be perfect, because that Tennessee bullpen is not as good as Chad Dallas is. And Chad Dallas knows he's going to have to be really, really damn good to slow down this offense tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a dogfight all the way through. Both these teams have insanely talented players. They have great offenses. I know Wright State had the number one offense in the country, but Tennessee was like three or four. So they both have great offenses and great pitching staffs. So I think this is a very closely matched team, and it's going to be a dogfight all the way through. And eventually, I think the team that minimizes mistakes, like we talked about the other day, team that minimizes the mistakes and keeps mistakes at a minimum is going to win this game.
No doubt about it. Tennessee and Wright State tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern time from Knoxville. You can catch that game. Let's see where you can catch that game. I'm sorry, I should have known where you could catch that game, but it will be, I assume, on TV. They're not telling me where on TV yet, so we'll figure that out and we'll let you know. So follow us on Twitter. And we'll tell you where you can catch that game. But Wright State, Tennessee, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. I know it's going to be on some kind of way to watch it on TV. I don't know if it's ESPN3, ESPN Plus, ESPN2, whatever, but it'll be available to watch. I promise you that.
ESPN3 is where it's going to be at.
ESPN3, there you go. So ESPN3, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, first pitch, Chad Dallas versus Jake Strand. It's going to be a good one, and I know we're going to fangirl about it for like 30 minutes tomorrow on the show. So last thing I want to bring up here, because we're out of time today, but this is a stat that I really liked. They ranked all of the regions in the NCAA tournament on toughness, and the Knoxville regional is considered the toughest region in the tournament. Tennessee is number 5 RPI in the country, but here, let's look at this, okay? Duke, the number 2 seed, 32-30 overall. They're hot coming into the tournament, 13-2 in their last 15. They have the 19th best RPI in the country, but Wright State right behind them, 14-1 in their last 15 games, 27th in RPI, just outside the top 25. Liberty's 36 in RPI and 12-3 in their last 15 games. This is 4 red-hot programs coming into the tournament, and I'm excited. Wright State, in their history against Tennessee, is 1-2. 1-3. No, wait, sorry. 2-2 against Tennessee. I can't count. Wright State's 2-2 against Tennessee all time. They lost back in 2007, and they won 2 out of 3 last season. So Wright State, it's not your typical 4 seed, and they might be the best 4 seed in the tournament. I'm not going to lie. And then also Liberty. Liberty comes into this one 39-14. Wright State's never faced Liberty before. The Raiders are 1-2 all time against Duke, but they played back in 2005. So, like we said on Tuesday, Parker, it's going to be tough to get out of this region with Tennessee, Duke, and Liberty all playing really good baseball right now. But all 3 of those teams are beatable. And Wright State is probably the best 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. And if any 4 seed's going to get out of regionals, I wouldn't count out the Raider gang.
No, it's possible. Like you said, this regional was ranked as the toughest one in out of all of them. And I agree with you with the statement that Wright State is probably the best 4 seed in the country right now. And it's quite possible.
Let's be real. They should have been a 3.
Right. Yeah. And it's quite possible that they can get out of this regional. I really think they can. It's going to be tough, like we talked about the other day, but they have the talent and they have the offensive firepower to get out of this regional.
They do for sure. We appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Thursday afternoon. I appreciate you hanging out with us every day, of course, on WWSU 106.9 FM or on our YouTube channel, WWSU 106.9. Tomorrow, bring your Raider gang gear, because we're talking Wright State baseball. The Raider gang takes on Tennessee at 6 o'clock. Chad Dallas, Jake Strand. It doesn't get any better than that. And we're going to probably talk about it we're going to plan on talking about it for 30 minutes. We'll probably talk about it for an hour and a half. But also, tonight, make sure you catch Suns-Lakers Game 6, Blazers-Nuggets Game 6. NBA playoffs has been really fun this season, and you don't want to miss any of the action. Dame Lillard might score 80 tonight. LeBron's got his back against the wall. And only 24 more hours before we get to see Luka Doncic again. So very, very fun times in the sports world. Parker, any closing thoughts on this Thursday afternoon before it's Raider Gang Friday?
This is, the NBA playoffs are a blast. And it's been really fun to watch. And I'm surprised as hell that, that Brad Stevens is the president of basketball ops in Boston now. And I know one thing that we didn't get to mention here on today's show, but I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit tomorrow, that Coach K is going to retire after this season. So one of the best to ever do it. He doesn't look like he's very old, because he doesn't look very old at all, but he's like 75. So, one of the best basketball coach in history.
No doubt.
For college at least. So, he's just had a heck of a career. So, yeah, it's really all I got for today. Happy, what day is today? Thursday. Happy Thursday to all of you. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We appreciate you tolerating us for 2 hours every weekday from 1 to 3. And we'll be back at it tomorrow. And again, like I said, bring your Raider Gang gear because it's going to be Wright State baseball all show long tomorrow. We're going to break down every single freaking player in the lineup. So if you're a Wright State baseball fan, this is the place to be tomorrow. So make sure you keep it locked, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Until next time, for Parker Testa, hanging out in Noblesville, this is Shea Neal saying so long and keep it real. Go Raider Gang. We'll talk to you tomorrow.